All right, it's time to get rolling. How's everybody doing today? This is Rich Harshaw from Level 10 Contractor. If you've been on webinars with me before, then you're used to my kind of style and energy and interaction. I am going to tell you something though. We're doing something a little bit new and different today. I am going to be covering one topic that I've covered extensively on previous webinars, and I'm also going to be covering three topics that I have actually never covered before on a webinar. So this is going to be some new stuff. Thrilled to have you on here with me. Thank you so much for joining. Today's webinar topic is the 4 I's, and that is going to be 4 different words that start with the letter I. I'll be sharing those with you momentarily. These are how smart contractors turn marketing into a wealth building machine. Okay, so this is going to be the unified contractor marketing framework that we'll be going over today. So with that being said, let's get started into the content. I want to tell you about Horizon Services. Horizon Services is a client of mine from the 2000 teens, however you say that. It's not the aughts, it's not the 20s, so I guess it's the teens. And I'm going to tell you how I found out about this company. That's their van. This is my van. At least this was my van back in those days when I had younger children. My children are all grown and out of the house now, but in those days, which was the 2000 teens, I had this very large van, and I was driving my kids on spring break down to Galveston, and we stopped for gas. I remember it very clearly and concisely. I was pumping gas when my cell phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize, but it didn't say spam risk. So I took a chance and I took the call. And the guy on the other end of the phone was Mark Aiken. He was the co-owner of Horizon Services, which is a company that I had never heard of at the time. And he said, "Hey, is this Rich?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Hey, I've heard about you. I think I need you to help me with my marketing for my company called Horizon Services." So he told me about that for a minute, and he said, "Hey, I heard that you do a 4-day marketing training workshop. Is there any chance that I could get you to come up here to Wilmington, Delaware, which is where they were headquartered, and do that 4-day event for my company?" And I said, "Wait a second, you want me to do a 4-day event just for one company? Normally we would have, several companies coming into town to do that particular event." He said, "Yeah, I'll get a few of my friends up here that have businesses, and we'll make it an event." And I said, "Yeah, okay, I guess." And he said, "Well, how much would you charge me for that?" Which is a weird question because nobody had ever asked me to even do that before, let alone how much do you charge? So I kind of shrugged my shoulders while I was still pumping gas into my van. My kids were in there, beating each other up. Who knows what they were doing? And I said, "Well, how about $40,000?" And he said, "Great. When can you do it?" And I'll be darned if I wasn't in Wilmington at the Sheraton downtown about 2 weeks later doing a 4-day workshop for Mark Aiken and a few of his friends. Now, that's the setup of how I came in contact with him. The real question is, why did he want me to come and what was going on there? And the answer is, he said, when I talked to him in more detail later, he said that we've got a great company. We're very aggressive with our marketing. They spent 10% every year on marketing, which for an HVAC company is pretty high. They were doing about $40 million in sales that year, so they had allocated just a little bit over $4 million to advertising, but almost all of it was going into the following things. It was going into pay-per-click to a small degree, and to a larger degree, it was going into direct mail, which was their major thing. And then also a major category was print advertising, and that included several shared mailers and a lot of newspaper advertising, which was in the early 2000 teens, still a worthwhile endeavor. And I said, "Okay, great. Why do you want me here?" He said, "A few reasons." He said, "Number one, I don't feel like our messaging is consistent across media. I don't feel like we have a good, strong message." He understood a concept called identity that I'm going to talk about later. Spoiler alert, there's 4 I's. The first I is identity. And he said, more importantly, I don't feel like my marketing team has cohesion with all of the different things we're doing. We've got an agency for web. We've got a different agency for pay-per-click. We've got a different agency that's doing just a little bit of some Facebook. We've got another agency that's doing direct mail. We've got another agency that handles graphic design and works with our newspapers. And he said, "I feel like it's all kind of disjointed." He needed to get something that was a little bit more integrated. And if you're keeping track, that's the second I out of the two I's. I'm kind of giving you a spoiler alert here. And I said, okay. So I came up there, started working with them, and here's what I found. So they had these following things that they were doing. They had pay-per-click and print ads, newspaper, all the things that I talked about. There was some phone scripts that they were using. And I have this big question mark in the middle because there was no cohesive element that was running throughout all of them. It doesn't mean that everything was completely disjointed. It means that most of the things, most of the time, were mostly disjointed. You had different agencies doing different things with different messages. They did have common offers that they were feeding to all the different agencies and elements that they were working with. And some of it was also being done in-house, but there was nothing consistent, nothing cohesive. And in fact, at that time, TV and radio, they weren't doing it. They were doing $56,000 on radio out of a $4 million budget. I'm going to round that to nothing. They weren't doing any. SEO, they weren't doing that either. They had a website, but they had no SEO strategy. Pay-per-click, they were doing it, but they were doing it very small. They were not spending nearly enough budget. Let me give you a little bit of a preview of what you're going to hear as we go through this. They were spending $20,000 a month on pay-per-click. By the time I stopped working with them 6 years later, they were spending over $2 million a year on pay-per-click. So it was very underutilized. Why? Because everything was siloed, everything was running independently. There was no communication between, that's probably overstating it. There was very little communication. And he said, I need you to come in and help us fix this, which is exactly what happened. Now, over the next 6 years, while he's working with them, the company exploded in revenue and profits until they finally sold. And when they got sold, the private equity company that bought them unceremoniously fired me. What am I trying to say here? They took all of the integration that we had done and pulled it all apart, and things started to go poorly. But that's a whole different story. That is not the story we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about what did go right. They went from marketing chaos to a marketing machine. And these are the 4 I's. Built them an identity, which is a case for why they're better, why they're worth more money. Now, here's what you need to know about Horizon Services back in those days, probably still now, very expensive compared to other options in the marketplace. They were at the very high end of the price scale. They had a great value that went along with that, but they were not good at communicating it. There was no integration. Like I said, what we want to do is get all efforts singing off the same hymn book, which is exactly what we accomplished when we went in there and worked with them. Next thing is iteration, rapidly deploying new versions of ads, finding winners, sticking with them, and making sure that you're always looking at new stuff all the time, constantly. Iteration. So we've got identity, integration, iteration, and then finally investment, spending on farming, not just direct response. And this was a huge, huge shift for this company. Remember, they were doing $40 million in sales before I ever met them. Very successful. 40 million is probably more in revenue than most of the people on this webinar are doing now. But remember, they were spending almost none on TV radio, just a tiny little radio buy. They were not spending any on SEO. And as a result, their ability to brand their company and create a very long-term consistent lead flow was lacking. So these are all of the things that we did, and this is what I'm going to talk to you about. This is the framework for our conversation today: identity, integration, iteration, and investment. And when this happens, the result is exploding sales and profitability. In fact, this came right out of my book, Unlocking Unlimited Lead Flow, where I tell a similar story. And you can see year 1 up to year 6, they hit over $150 million. That's when they sold the company. They got a crap ton of money. That's a technical term. They received a crap ton of money, and Mark Aiken essentially retired and moved to Florida. Dave Geiger is still around. Not sure what's happening now, but here's the point. A company that was successful, doing things well. So it's not like, hey, you suck, you need to fix things. It's like, hey, let's move from sheer aggression and money spending to a formulaic, systematic, integrated process of making your marketing work. That's what I want to talk to you about That's the level 10 way. Now, when you signed up for this webinar, there was something called the Unified Contractor Marketing Framework, and that's what this is. It's a single integrated system that connects every element of your marketing, your brand identity, your lead generation, your media buying, your sales conversion, technology, and tracking into one cohesive strategy that compounds results instead of fragmenting your effort. Again, I want to be super clear. I'm not suggesting that you can't have success without this Unified Contractor Marketing Framework, the 4 I's, so to speak. I'm suggesting that if you're serious about scaling your business up and you want to make sure that you're getting the very most out of all of the dollars you're spending, then this is a framework that you need to pay close attention to, which is, I assume, why you're here with me today. Thank you again for attending. Okay, so the 4 I's: identity, integration, iteration, investment. We'll go through each of these 4 on the webinar today. Before we do that, before we get into it, I do want to introduce you to 3 sponsors that we have for today's event. We've got Demand IQ, Engage, and G4. And I do want to tell you a little bit about them. As I do this, I'm going to put a poll on the screen. And I know sometimes you look at this and you're like, yeah, man, do we have to hear these sponsors? And the answer is, yeah, if we didn't have sponsors, we would have no webinar. So let's just give a little bit of time for these guys. I am going to run a poll. If you'd like to learn more about these guys, you can then fill out the poll. And this should be on your screen right now. I'm going to tell you about Demand IQ. Most contractors are bleeding leads. They don't know it because their websites still say, fill out this form and we'll get back to you. That's like 2009 behavior. Demand IQ is 2025. It turns your website from a self-serve buying experience into a self-serve buying experience. Homeowners answer a few questions and then boom, guess what happens? They get an instant estimate right there on your site, right there. Now, there's no waiting, no chasing, just ready to buy leads dropped straight into your CRM. It's a no-code platform. It's called Journeys. It makes it stupid easy to build and launch interactive quoting funnels. Contractors that are using it are seeing 2 to 3x more leads and 20 to 30% higher close rates. Some people listen to this and they say, oh, well, that's stupid. Why do I want to give them a price right there on the spot? And the answer is because it works better. Yeah, it works better. So that's why. Bottom line, Demand IQ turns your request quote page into a money printer. If your competitors are still making people wait for a call, you'll eat their lunch. If you want to learn more, there's a couple ways you can do that. Go to Demand IQ. I think it's demandiq.com. Or you can listen to a podcast I did with them in June. It's episode 2133 called An Instant Quoting Tool That Increases Leads and Closing Ratios. That is very specific, gives you a good overview of it. Also want to tell you about Engage. Engage is it's a tool that's going to help your sales team do better presentations. If you got a great product, a solid team, a killer reputation, if your presentation is still trapped in PowerPoint purgatory, then you're going to want to take a close look at Engage. It changes it. It's a presentation software built for persuasion. It turns your pitch from into a full-blown interactive experience with video, animations, testimonials, clickable comparisons, all telling your company stories like a Netflix special, not a nap fest. And here's the kicker. Every single interaction is tracked. You can see which slides your reps use, how long they engage for, when they drop off. You can also see which presentations are actually closing deals. It's not just cool, it's data that you can weaponize. So you want to make sure that you take a look at this. You can go to episode 1231. It's been a while since I had them on the podcast, or you can go to engage.com. Just Google it. I don't know if it's engage.com. Everybody's got an IO or a .com or something like that. Just go Google Engage presentations. You'll find it. Finally, G4 Marketing. Known these guys for a long time. Most contractors obsessed with new leads. They'll drop 20 grand a month chasing strangers, but they'll ignore the people who already love them. G4 is going to flip that. They've built an automated system that turns past customers into future revenue. Here's how it works. After every job, they're going to send a personal thank you card and a small gift. It's a jar of cookies. It's really cool. And people are going to see that and go, wow, this is really cool. Then they're going to drop handwritten notes. They're going to ask for referrals, reviews. All of this is automatic. It's branded, it's personalized. And that's just the beginning. They also have customer rehash. They're going to send stuff out for months or years showing before and after photos. This is going to be great. It's systematized, it's trackable, it's all done for you. Key thing, all done for you. If you try to manage this kind of stuff yourself, you're going to get creamed. It doesn't really work. Okay. So take a look at G4 Marketing. They're going to give you a steady stream of referrals, repeat jobs, and 5-star reviews that are going to keep your pipeline full. and that's going to augment what you're doing in your marketing. Okay, so let me close the poll. Close. There we go. It is closed. And let's get back into today's topic. Let me tell you who I am. For those of you who are not familiar with me, that's my mug. That's my fall wardrobe. So I'm looking kind of dapper there. Founded this business in 1994 as a general marketing consultant. Been working specifically with remodeling home services for 20 full years now, a little bit more actually. I've worked with some of the biggest and most successful companies. Horizon Services, like I told you about, Service Champions is a current client. Actually, it's Champions Group. It's about a $500 million a year company. Hanson's, 1-800 Hanson's, Renewal by Anderson, and dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of other smaller companies. We're an elite marketing agency. We work with companies in the 5 to 20 million range. We do work with some bigger ones. We do work with some smaller ones, but that's the what would you call it? The sweet spot. We're an elite level marketing agency, websites. This is what we do. This is how we make money. We sell websites, we sell SEO services, digital advertising like pay-per-click, Facebook, TV and radio, streaming advertising, organic social media. Now, here's what I want you to know. Everything that I'm going to talk about to you today as we get into these 4 I's are an outcropping of us being an agency that sees the problems that we're attempting to solve with this formula. And we have oriented and structured our agency to act according to the principles that I'm going to be talking to you about today. So if some of you watch this and you start connecting dots and you start to feel like, hey, is this like some kind of a sales pitch for level 10 contractor? The answer is, yeah, it kind of is, because the things that cause you problems, we have solved them. Hence, I'm going to tell you how we do this. Also, quickly, do have a podcast called Level 10 Contractor Daily Podcast. You can look that up and listen to all kinds of things on there. Now, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna show you how to build a long-term wealth building business with your marketing. There's plenty of other parts of your business that you need to pay attention to, the production part, the sales part. We're gonna focus in today on the marketing part. So let's get into the first I. Those of you who are familiar with Level 10 Contractor and me personally will have certainly heard me talk about identity, because it is literally the foundation of everything that we do, and it should be the foundation of everything that you do for your company from a marketing standpoint. Now, this is how most companies think of themselves. They think, oh, there's all these competitors out there, but we're different, we're better, so we're going to stand out. People are going to obviously know that we're different and better. We're the one red apple in a sea of green apples. But what's really happening is you look like everybody else. And the reason you look like everybody else is because nearly everything that you ever say about your company on your marketing, whether it's your website or your print ads or your TV, your radio, your pay-per-click, your landing pages, it all sounds super hyper generic. It sounds like everybody else. You wonder why it's hard for people to distinguish that you're different and better when the things that you're actually saying are all the same. You're saying green apple, and that's why you look like a green apple. So most marketing, therefore, is full of platitudes or prices. Platitudes, words, phrases that are drearily commonplace, predictable, that lack power to evoke interest through overuse and repetition, that are nevertheless stated as if it was original or significant. This is things like best products, best services, family owned, in business since 1431 BC. And you know, when you say this stuff on your website, when you put this into your ads, when this goes on your TV commercial, people they just tune out because it's so common. It just doesn't make any impact. The other thing a lot of people do in their advertising is they put prices and offers. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have prices and offers in your advertising and marketing. What I am saying is that if this is the main thing that you're doing most of the time, then you're training the audience to buy from you because you're cheaper. Think about it. If you say, hey, well, it's 40% off, get your second window free, 0% financing. Again, let me be very, very specific with you. I'm not saying that there's no room or no place for these kinds of offers, because there certainly is. What I'm saying is that if this is the only thing you ever say and it's all people hear all the time from you, then you're training them that you're cheap and that they should do business with you because there's a good deal. What you want is for people to do business with you because there's actual reasons you're different and better. They can trust you more, and they're going to get more value regardless of how many dollars they pay you. And oh, by the way, you might happen to have some good financing offers or some kind of a special that they might want to take advantage of, okay? So the way that we do this is identity. But without identity, you sound like Charlie Brown's mother. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's like wah, 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 wah. I can't really make that sound. You know what I'm talking about. That sound represents whatever it is that you're saying is not really worth me paying full attention to. It all sounds the same. It sounds like nonsense. We've got to get past that. Identity is the antidote to platitudes. The definition of identity is words, phrases, and images that are articulated with power, precision, and passion that instantly, definitively communicate who you are, how you're different and better, and what customers can expect when they do business with you. It's building a case. It's telling your story so that people understand not just that you're better than your competitors. That's an important part of this, but also they just understand what it is that you're selling. And you say, what do you mean? I'm selling roofs. Everybody knows what a roof is. Do they though? Does everybody know what a window is? And you're like, of course everybody knows what a window is. It's right there in your house, dummy. Look at it. It's right there. Good grief, Rich. No. Here's what I mean. If you go to buy new windows, there's an 85 to 90% chance you've never bought windows before. You don't know what to look for. You don't know what the parameters are. You don't know anything about anything. You don't know anything. You don't know how to buy a roof. You don't know how to buy siding, because these are things that the overwhelming majority of people have never bought before. If they did buy it, it was a long time ago. And also there's a chance that they got screwed over. And so they're not only ignorant, they're skeptical. So what we want to do is articulate, like it says on your screen right now, with power, precision, and passion, who you are, how you're different, why you're better, what people can expect when they do business with you. Now, I've done entire podcasts on this. I've done entire webinars on this. I've got, if you go back to last December in the podcast, I dropped, just look it up, December last year, 2024, I dropped 2 what I call megapods. A megapod is 5 podcast episodes on one topic, all jammed and stuck together in a 2 or 3 or 4 hour podcast. I dropped 2 of them specifically on identity. Why? Because this is the bread and butter. It's the keystone. It's the foundation of everything you're going to do. So I don't have time to go into it in a tremendous amount of detail today, because it's the first of the 4 I's. It's important, but I don't have time to go into it in tremendous detail, but I will put this on your screen. These are the 5 pillars of identity. This would be a great time to take a screenshot. No, I'm serious. Go ahead and take a screenshot. Take a screenshot right now and study this, because this is how you're going to come up with your identity. You're going to look at your products, your workmanship, your bedside manner. That's how you treat people. That's being nice to people. Your core values, and then your culture and reputation. And you can see on the screen all the various individual identity points that fall into those categories. What you want to do is identify 3 from each of those pillars, and then find stories, examples, and comparisons. Now, I just did, it's October, yep. So last month, September, on 9/11, we did Operation Lead Surge in Philadelphia. I spent hours going through identity, teaching a crowd of people how to go through this process, how to identify the proper identity points for your company, how to find the stories, examples, and comparisons, and how to communicate those. This is something that takes some time to learn. So I'm not trying to kid you or myself that by sitting here on this webinar today, that you're going to solve this identity issue. But I am going to suggest that you can at least understand what it is so that you can take definitive action. I will make you an offer at the end of the webinar today, so stick around for that. I'll put a QR code on. I'm going to offer you something called a marketing blueprint consultation, where we'll walk through your identity with you, and also the other 3 of the 4 I's. Okay, now here's what I do want to do though. I want to give you a couple of examples of this, and I'm hoping that technology is going to cooperate. I'm going to play a few ads. This is from Horizon Services, and I'm going to ask somebody, if you don't mind, to just go in the chat. I'm going to push play on this, and if somebody can just confirm that you can hear this when I push play. If you can't, then I'll skip them. If you can, I'm going to go ahead and play this. So let's go ahead and listen to this. Here we go.
Don't you hate the wait? I know I do. Red lights, can't stand that. doctor's office, I'd rather be sick than sit in a waiting room for an hour and a half. If a restaurant can't seat me in 5 minutes or less, I'm out of there. So when Horizon Services started 25 years ago,
Well, it stopped for no particular reason.
I vow that I do everything in my power to minimize that intolerable wait that you normally have to endure when you call a repairman. First of all, we'll schedule an appointment for you at a time that actually works for you. During the day, after work, weekends, whatever's best for you. Then we'll give you a guaranteed appointment window. And if we miss it, even by 1 minute, then your service call is free. Yep, 100% free. Because I'm serious about getting rid of the waits. It's just one more way that we respect you as a customer. Call Horizon Services.
Okay, I hope you could hear that, because here's what I'm trying to communicate to you. When I showed up on the scene over there at Horizon, they were running well, first of all, they weren't on the radio at all. We'll get to that later when we get to the fourth I, which is investment. But they were running ads that were very generic, pictures of trucks, pictures of technicians. Again, nothing wrong with pictures of trucks and investments, but they were just, hey, here's the things that we have. It's what I call menu board advertising. Hey, if you need an air conditioning tune-up, here's an offer for, half off or $88 or something like that. Offers only. That was what was happening on their ads. So we sat down with them and said, what is your identity? What makes you different and better? If we go back to this, we come over here to Bedside Manor, and here's what we found. Punctual was important. If we're even 1 minute late, then your entire service call is free. This is a really important identity point for an air conditioning company. Now, you might be listening to this and saying, well, I'm a roofer. Who cares? It's different. Yeah, I know. That's why there's all of these different ones that you can choose from. Okay. So we've chose to lean into, for Horizon, being on time. We also leaned into no sales pressure, accurate, easy quotes, worker appearance, all kinds of things. But here's how this is communicated. Let's do one more here, and then we'll move on.
Don't you hate it when companies play pricing games with you? They'll either artificially inflate the price and tell you you're getting a bunch of discounts to make the final price look good, or they'll give you a low price up front, but then you find out later there's a bunch of hidden charges you didn't know about. It's infuriating. And even worse when you're buying a big ticket item that you don't buy very often, so you really don't know how much it should cost, like a new heating system. If you need to replace your heater, call Horizon Services. We'll give you an ironclad price in writing up front that includes absolutely everything. No tricks, no games, no fake discounts to make the price look better, and best of all, no surprises when it comes time to pay. Call us right.
Did you hear? I hope you could hear that. I've had a little bit of a technology challenge today. Assuming you could hear that, here's what he's talking about. He's talking about making sure that you're not going to pay more, and he's communicating with power, precision, and passion. Okay, so we're going to move past this section. I was going to show you some TV ads. I'm going to move past those. Here's what I want to do. I want to focus on your identity. What is your identity? I want you to choose 3 to 5 points from the slide that I showed you. I told you to screenshot it. I hope you did. The 5 pillars of identity. Choose 3 to 5 points total. I asked you earlier to choose 3 points from each of the 5. Let's just start with 3 to 5 total points. Is it that your products are somehow better? If so, specifically how? Is it that you have low sales pressure? Is it that you have better communication? Is it that you have some kind of charity that you donate to? What are the things that make you different and better? And then I want you to find the stories, examples, and comparisons. So I'll give you an easy to understand example. This is for roofers out there. If you're a roofing company, here's what I find a lot of times. They'll say to me, hey, Rich, we're a GAF Master Elite contractor. Only 2% of contractors are Master Elite. Well, here's the problem with that. If you're a homeowner, you never heard of GAF, you don't know what a Master Elite is. So when you start trying to brag that you're a Master Elite, nobody really knows or cares what that means, and it doesn't have the impact that you think it does. It's a big deal to you, and it should be, because it really truly is an honor to be a Master Elite GAF installer. But the point is, most people have no frame of reference or context for that, so it doesn't land. So what we've got to do is help them understand why it makes a difference. Roofers will say to me, well, we've got a better warranty because we're a GAF Master Elite, then we've got a better warranty. And they'll say, hey, our warranties are better. So they'll go on the radio and say, hey, our roofs have the longest, best warranty because we're a GAF Master Elite installer. Only 2% are. And people hear that and they go, well, I don't really know what that means. So then we come in and we say, well, what is it that a person, like an actual homeowner, a person that doesn't know anything about roofing? Remember, I said earlier, the problem is people don't know anything about the topic because they've never bought this before. So we come in there and we might say something like this: hey, did you know that if the roofer that installs your new roof on your house doesn't follow manufacturer installation guidelines explicitly, that your entire roof warranty could be voided? Yeah, it's true. We're a GAF Master Elite roofer. Here's what that means. We have to follow the standards, which are as follows: 6 nails per shingle. Many roofers, in an effort to cut costs and save time and save a little bit of money that they can put into their pocket, they'll put less than 6 nails. They'll put 3 or 4, maybe 5. It costs a little bit less on nails. It saves them a little bit of money on labor. And now when they leave your house, your warranty is absolutely voided. Why? Because they didn't follow the specifications like we do. We always only ever use 6 nails per shingle per the specifications. Your warranty will always be valid. And guess what? If the roofer does it wrong, you'll never know until it's too late. A year, 2, 3, 4 years later, when it rains and it leaks because they installed it wrong and your warranty is voided, you'll never know until there's a problem. Okay, so you get the idea. That's what we want to do. Find the stories, the examples and comparisons, and then integrate it into all your messaging. Okay, now, like I said earlier, I'm going to give you an opportunity towards the end of this webinar, so stick with me, to fill out a QR code that will allow you to do a marketing blueprint consultation with our chief strategist, Ryan Hill. Okay, now let's go to the second I. The first I was identity. That's super important. The second one is integration. This is like a hidden problem that most people aren't paying attention to, but I want you to pay attention to. Hey, hence I'm bringing it here. What you want is one brain, one plan, one story. Here's the problem. You've got multiple vendors and agencies, just like I talked about with Horizon Services. No communication between those various agencies or people on your staff doing it, or very little communication. There's no shared data, so therefore there's no consistency. There's no cross-platform learning, and therefore you've got sort of a Frankenstein looking marketing program that is not optimized because the things that are working are not being communicated to the other silos. The things that are not working, just as importantly, are also not being communicated to the other silos. So everybody's just out there sort of randomly trying stuff, seeing what happens and running with it. And I'm going to tell you a really important story here. Okay. This siloed departments problem is massive. When I first showed up at Horizon Service, I mentioned this earlier, I looked at their budget and it said that they were doing $20,000 a month in pay-per-click, which I thought sounded really small out of a $4 million budget. So what's 20,000 a month? That's $240,000 a year out of a $4 million budget. So what is that, 1/16 or something like that? Hey, when your air conditioner breaks, you go to Google, man, you say, hey, who should I call? And I said, why is this budget so small? And they said, well, that's just the budget. I said, well, why is that the budget? They said, well, because that's what we set it as. And I said, well, do you spend the whole budget? And they said, yeah, we spend the whole budget every month. I said, well, do you set it to go like a certain amount of budget per day to allocate it over the entire, let's call it 30 days? And they said, no, we just run it until it's gone. And I said, okay, and this was the end of June. I said, so tell me what's happened in June. And they looked it up and they said, oh, well, we ran out of budget on June 12th, which I remember because it's my birthday. I had this conversation later in the month. They said, we ran out on June 12th. I said, you ran out on June 12th, so what happened on June 13th? They said, well, we didn't have any pay-per-click. I said, well, that's dumb. Why? And they said, well, we don't have any budget for it. I said, what do you mean you don't have any budget for it? You see where this is going, right? It's a very frustrating loop of dumbness. I said, you should be spending all the money you possibly can on pay-per-click, because if the clicks are coming in at a reasonable rate and you're getting leads from it, then why would you want that to shut off? Remember, the spoiler alert was that by the end of 6 years, we had that budget up to over $2 million a year. I think it got up close to $3 million a year just on pay-per-click alone. Now, during that same time, the budget had increased from $4 million to about $15 million. So it went from 1/16 to what, 3 out of 15 is 20%, whatever those ratios are. But here's the point. The Frankenstein budget, you've got a guy over here running that budget, and he's just like, he's happy. He's a happy camper. I'm running my budget. what's working on pay-per-click. If we run an ad on radio that says, I hate to wait, if I have to go to the doctor's and I have to wait for more than 5 minutes, I'm out of there. If I go to a restaurant and I can't get immediately to my table, I leave. And that works and it resonates. Why aren't we putting that into print ads? Why aren't we also putting that over onto TV? Why aren't we putting that into the Facebook ads and everything else that we're doing if we find winners? And the answer is because we've got a Frankenstein marketing program. Now, integration is going to create some compounding. One central marketing brand, unified reporting. Oh my gosh. What if you had all of your reporting coming to you via email every day? You didn't have to click on anything. You just had to look at your email for all of the different silos. How wonderful would that be? The answer is it would be wonderful. And this is very possible if the following conditions are true. Number one, you don't have multiple silos all over the place that are working independently of each other. And also if the concurrently working integrated silos also have artificial intelligence pulling your reports from the various internal silos that are working together and then integrating that into one singular report so you can see what's happening. Now imagine this, imagine having a report that shows you yesterday's results and the last 7-day results and the last 30-day results and the last year results every day on email for all of the different things you're doing. Now what you can do is, first of all, you don't have to necessarily look at every email every day, but when you do go to look at it, it'll be the most recent data. Again, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly data, and you can see what's happening within those campaigns with your pay-per-click, multiple campaigns, multiple ads, precisely what's happening, pay-per-click, multiple ads, multiple campaigns, OTT, radio, what's happening, what's working, direct mail, results that are coming in, and you can see all of this, SEO, results, what's happening, how many leads are we getting from our website, all of this on a singular report. Unified reporting, it's a thing, it exists, but you have to have a unified integrated marketing brain, okay? Also, when you integrate, you get cross-channel learning, like I mentioned before. If it's working on pay-per-click, if it's working on OTT, can we then put it into Facebook and vice versa and backwards? Dynamic budget allocation. Why are you spending the amount of money on the things that you're spending? And for most people, the reason is because that's what we allocated. But if you're getting killer results on Facebook and you're getting less good results on television, why not dynamically switch that budget to put the money where you're getting the biggest bang for the buck? And the answer is because these budgets, traditionally, they're not talking to each other. So they just sit there by themselves doing their thing with nobody paying attention to them. Also, we talked about this, consistent creative identity, and then you have the ability to use data to make decisions. We do this all the time at Level 10 Contractor. We're doing it today. We're taking, earlier this morning, I'm on a call with a client. We're looking at their TV budget. We're looking at their Facebook paid advertising budget. We see that their Facebook paid advertising had a problem, and for whatever reason, it was not spending the full budget. So we took that budget today, literally on a call. We took the budget that we know was not spending for a couple of different reasons. Don't worry about what the reasons were. They were legitimate, valid reasons. And we took, I believe it was $3,000 that is not going to be spent this month on Facebook, and we reallocated it to TV, and we're running additional spots literally tomorrow and Friday that before today, that decision had not been made, because we're looking at these reports that show everything in one place. So we're dynamically allocating that budget. Instead of just saving that money, we spent $3,000 less, or we will spend $3,000 less this month on Facebook. Instead of just pocketing that money, hell no, we're gonna go spend that money on other things so we can generate more leads, man. See how this works? It's amazing when you do it. Integration turns chaos into control, okay? So this little image here is a bunch of islands. We do not want a bunch of little islands. We want one big giant island with our budgets, okay? So let's go on to the third I, which is iteration. Now, what do you mean by iteration, Rich? Well, here's what happens. The typical agency playbook is set it and forget it. Pay-per-click and paid social, okay? Facebook advertising, if you're doing any kind of TikTok or Instagram, this would be also included. Here's the problem. You're one of 30 accounts being handled by AM, which is the account manager. They use AI to create 3 to 5 ads. They lean into the 2 that work the best. then they check back again in a month. How's it going? This is how agencies work. I'm just telling you, this is how most agencies work. Also, decent chances is how your internal people work if you're using internal people. And the reason is simple, because everybody's trying to maximize for efficiency of, I'm talking about agencies here, we want the most possible clients with the fewest possible account managers, which is efficient for the agency, and it freaking sucks for you because nobody's paying attention to your stuff. They check back in again in a month, and you know what? Good luck with that. The iteration playbook works like this: pay-per-click and paid social, same thing. Create 2 to 3 campaigns with 6 to 8 ads each, and then you start running them out there 1 at a time, 2 at a time. You're also going to create 2 different landing pages per campaign. Why? Because different landing pages can have an effect on the conversion ratio of traffic to leads. So you want to make sure that you've got the right landing page. You don't want to just throw one frickin' landing page out there and go, well, I hope it works. Guess what? What if it's 20, 30% under leverage because you never tested against it? Well, you need to have the different landing pages and then monitor results what? Daily. Who's going to be monitoring results daily? You should be monitoring results daily. And oh my gosh, for heaven's sake, hopefully your agency is monitoring results daily. And then you can shift budgets to winners, launch new campaigns to test against the control. Okay. So you don't need to be running out there. Let's say it's Facebook paid advertising. You don't need to be running 75 new campaigns per month, but you'd better be running at least 2 to 3 different campaigns, with each of those having multiple ads that are being tested against each other. So I don't know if you caught the difference between a campaign and an ad. A campaign is going to be like, hey, we've got a 50% off installation offer. And over here, we've got maybe more of an identity-based ad talking about whatever your identity point is, okay? So just to give you a visual on this, this is how you rapidly iterate multiple kinds of ads. These are different versions of ads for Facebook, Instagram feed, Facebook feed videos, and we're using copywriters to come up with the copy that we then feed into the ad generators, and we're generating literally 20, 30 different ads per month per client, multiple campaigns. And then we want to, well, let me give you an example of what this looks like. So the original header text on this Facebook ad, which was getting us a $385 cost per quotable lead. A quotable lead is a lead that you can actually run. Okay, it's not, you know, a nonsense somebody trying to sell you toner cartridges. Here's what it said: this is your chance to get the kitchen or bath of your dreams without breaking the bank. For this special promotion, we are offering 0% project financing for up to 18 months, but act fast. This amazing deal won't last. We changed not the ad itself, but just the header text. And we changed it to this: transform your kitchen or bath without the sticker shock. For a limited time, enjoy 0% financing, making it easier than ever to create the space you've been dreaming of. But hurry, this offer won't be around for long. And that header text on the same image lowered the cost per quotable lead by, yeah, right about half. You're like, well, that's weird. Why would that text do so much better than that other text? And the answer is, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's shorter. Maybe it's because it's a little more to the point. Maybe the word sticker shock is emotionally resonating with people. The answer is, we don't know, but we do know enough to actually run different things so we can see what's happening. You have to rapidly iterate to find things. I always laugh when I hear people say, oh, well, we tried that, whatever that thing is. We tried Facebook, it didn't work. Oh, really? How many ads did you run? How many campaigns did you run? How many different landing pages did you try? Oh, well, I don't know. Our agency set it up. Yeah, I know. They set it, they forget it, it didn't work, it sucked, and so you quit. And then you thought that Facebook doesn't work. You really think that Facebook doesn't work? Can somebody please do a quick look at Facebook's earnings? How much money they're making off of all of us people that are out there spending money on their advertising platform, and then you have the gall to say that Facebook advertising doesn't work? Are you freaking nuts? You think it doesn't work? No. What happened is you didn't iterate. You just threw something out there. This is like going fishing, and you go out there with your old-fashioned cane pole, and you take some stink bait and you throw it on there, and you're trying to catch a catfish, but there's no catfish in that pool because they're all bass, and you don't have the right tackle, and you don't try again. You're like, well, there's nothing I can catch in this pond. No, you just suck at fishing. and you're not trying enough stuff. Why don't you try different stuff? Rapidly iterating ads, landing pages, and dynamically shifting your budget is the name of the game. The Unified Contractor Marketing Framework. There's 4 I's: identity, integration, and now we're on iteration. Okay. Now let me give you this little nugget. Organic social. This is an iteration engine. Organic social, if you're running it properly, and by the way, I know for a dadgum fact that 98% of you on this webinar right now are not properly running an organic social campaign. You're just not. Because I'm going to tell you what it looks like here in just a minute, but let me tell you what the benefit is. You run your organic social out there with your identity story, social proof, photos, videos, reviews, FAQs. These are the types of posts that you're going to be putting on your organic social. Let me be very, very specific with you so everybody does not misunderstand. When I say organic social, what I mean specifically is you're putting posts on your social media accounts that people are going to see that you're not paying for. Okay, you're not paying that. There is a paid advertising, which is great. We do want to do paid advertising, but you can be throwing out their organic social on these kinds of topics, dream sessions, competitor contrasts, and then what you do is you see which ones work best, and then you lean into those for the ones that you're going to pay money for. If you find something that resonates on your organic social, then you can then spend money to get bigger reach, but you know that it works because you've seen it on organic social. Then you can turn it into a TV commercial, turn it into a radio commercial. You can turn it into anything you want. Put it on the flyer that you put on people's doors when you go canvassing. I don't know. How much social media should you be doing per month? Answer: very, very, very bare minimum. I'm going to give you an answer in just a second, but before I give you the answer, I need to make sure you understand that this is a building step-by-step framework. If you try to do what I'm talking about right now and you don't have the first step, the first I, which is identity, so you're just putting out these nonsensical, offer-oriented Facebook posts, you are going to get crushed by the algorithm because nobody wants to see your freaking organic post about some kind of special offer you have. Now, if you find an offer that works, you can put it over there on a paid advertisement. That's one thing. But if you're just throwing out nonsense on your organic socials and you're getting no traction, it's because it's not identity oriented. People want to understand what they need to know about what it is that you're selling. So here's the bare minimum you should be doing of social media organic posting. Bare freaking minimum 1 per day. If you're doing less than 1 per day, shame on you. It's a problem. Fix it. 2 per day, better. 3 per day, now we're getting into range. You want to start talking about 4, 5, 6, 7 a day? Great, talk about it all you want. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to get up to 1, 2 is better, 3 is best, okay? More than 3, fantastic, but I'm not gonna put that much strain on you. That's 90 pieces of content a month. Half of those pieces of content should be videos. You probably don't have a reliable video production situation to be producing 45 videos optimally, 15 minimally per month. If you don't, this is something that you need to take care of, okay? Now, I'm going to defer here to Gary Vaynerchuk. He says, social media is in the past. Welcome to interest media, okay? The new era of social media is interest media. Here's what that means. It means that you don't have to have a huge following on, let's say, Facebook for Facebook algorithm to show your posts to people. You just have to have something that's interesting and relevant and engaging, and Facebook's algorithm will show it to people. So forget about generating a huge audience and make sure instead that you're focusing on good content. What kind of content? Identity-based, okay? So we've got identity, integration, making sure that everything's talking together, and then now we're talking about iteration. Okay, I'm gonna skip past that. Now, if you've got winning social organic, then that becomes the hub of what you can now put into all of these other kinds of marketing. This is where integration and iteration are so critical. Otherwise, you're just freaking guessing all the time. You're just perpetually guessing, perpetual guessing. That's not what we want. It's nearly impossible to effectively iterate unless you successfully integrated your marketing efforts. Why? Because you need to be gathering intel from all of your marketing silos that can then be effectively used everywhere else. But if each of your silos, number one, aren't integrated, they're not talking to each other, and then number two, they're not rapidly iterating, there's no intel to share. So you've got to create intel to share by rapidly iterating that you can then share by integration, if that makes sense. All right, let's go to the fourth I as we start getting into the home stretch of our webinar today. Again, if you'll stick around, please, just for a few more moments, I'm going to give you an opportunity to hit a QR code, and I'm going to ask you to sign up for a marketing blueprint where we'll meet with you and go through the 4 I's and help you see how you could potentially do better at these things, okay? So investment, stop spending, start compounding. Most contractors treat marketing like they're paying rent, okay? Pay for the advertising, get leads, repeat. Marketing should be wealth building. Hunting is going to feed you today. That's the things I just talked about, and I'll show you those in a minute. Farming feeds you tomorrow and forever. Compounding is going to create stability, all right? Now, when I'm talking about hunting, I'm talking about things like building your SEO out, getting your online review game on point, rolling your social media game out like I just talked about, television and OTT so that you're starting to brand. It's like marketing real estate. In other words, if you put a page on your website that is SEO optimized, that's like real estate that's going to continue to pay you for years and years and years to come. But if you don't put it on there, guess what? It'll never pay you. Same thing with social media, same thing with your reviews. You should be getting, at a bare minimum, 50% of all of your customers should be leaving you a 5-star Google review or Facebook review. 50%. If your percent is less than 50, that's a problem. It needs to be worked on. How long should it take? Pay-per-click, paid social, it's like day trading, okay? You're going to go out there, spend your money on pay-per-click. Hopefully you're rapidly iterating, so you're learning quickly, so you're not making mistakes over and over again, and you're leaning into things that are working, and then you're testing against your control like we've talked about. But it's like day trading. SEO, TV, radio, OTT, this is like building a portfolio for the long term. This is like putting your money in the S&P 500 and looking at the historical chart and saying, you know what? This is going to work. There's no chance this doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, that's because our entire economy melted down and we're out there hunting and we're in a war. Besides that, the S&P 500 just always works over the long haul. This is what I'm trying to encourage you to do. Both of these have a place, but long-term brand is built through content, brand, SEO, and reputation. When I showed up at Horizon Services, they were doing no SEO, they were doing no TV and radio. By the end of 2 years, they were spending $3 million a year on TV and radio, and it absolutely accelerated their growth. It made them ubiquitous in the marketplace. Everybody knew them. We achieved something called TOMA, T-O-M-A, top of mind awareness. And when everybody knows who you are and everybody knows your identity because you started with the first I, identity, and then you took that message, and because of integration, you spread it across all the different silos and platforms that you're advertising and marketing on. And then you rapidly iterate so you know you've got the best ads. And then you come into the investment and you say, okay, now we're going to go on TV. Now we're going to go on OTT. Now we're going to go into SEO. Now we're going to focus on these things that are going to give us long-term durability. This is where brand is built, and this is where wealth is built. And this is where scale starts to sustain itself without having to nervously get your checkbook out every morning and start over again from scratch like many of you are doing now. Okay, here's the budget framework. If you're doing less than $2 million, probably 90-10, 90% direct response, hunting, 10%, excuse me, more longer term branding and farming. If you're 3 to 5 million, it's probably more like 80-20. You can see here, if you get up to the 10 million plus range, then you need to be going more like 60-40, 50-50, okay? Doesn't mean that the stuff that you're doing for hunting, your direct response stuff, is wrong or dumb or stupid. It's not. It's necessary, it's good, it's awesome. And also, as you grow, you need to allocate more and more money towards farming so you can build a sustainable long-term business that dominates in your marketplace, okay? Hey, you just got to start wherever you are. Just make sure you start, okay? You don't want to just continually not do this. As revenue grows, then you can rebalance towards farming, okay? So identity is your foundation. Integration is your systems. Iteration is the acceleration, and the investment is longevity. This is what we're going for with this 4 I's. Now, let me just review this with you. The Unified Contractor Marketing Framework, a single integrated system that connects every element of your marketing, brand identity, lead generation, media buying, sales conversion, technology tracking into one cohesive strategy that compounds into results instead of fragmenting effort. We haven't even talked about lead conversion engine, which we could, but we don't have time. Here's the next steps for you, the challenge. Audit your 4 I's. Audit them. How are you doing? Where are you strong? Where are you exposed? Start with your identity. Use the 5 pillars framework that I gave you earlier. Audit your vendors and your agencies. Are they talking? Are they rapidly iterating? Are they giving you usable data that you can make decisions with? Are they singing from the same hymn book? Again, rapidly iterating. And then allocate budget to farming. This is the challenge. Now, here's what I'm going to offer you, the Marketing ROI Blueprint. It's a personal consultation to turn your marketing into a compounding growth machine. It's about an hour long, plan for a little bit longer, but basically an hour long, how to create your company's identity, current state of integration and iteration, plan for allocating money to investment, and then we'll talk about how level 10 can potentially help you accomplish those goals. So I'm going to ask you right now, if you don't mind, go ahead and get your phone out, hit this QR code. The QR code is going to give you an opportunity to set up a time to meet with Ryan Hill. He's a senior consultant that understands this stuff backwards, forwards, inside and out. He'll walk you through your identity, help you figure out what's going on there. And then also, again, looking at the integration, iteration, and investment. Now, with that being said, I am going to open this call, this webinar, to questions. So if you want to use the question thing on your dashboard, go ahead and do that. Also, I'm going to run a poll. Let me run the poll here real quick. The poll says, I would like, what does the poll say? I would like the following from level 10 contractor. You can choose the Marketing ROI Blueprint consultation. You can choose the website audit. This is part of this consultation. We'll do an audit on your website to see if it's driving as many leads as it should. Also, we have a free organic social program for qualified companies. Here's what that means. I talked earlier extensively about the necessity for doing 30, 60, 90 pieces of organic content. We actually produce that content and manage it for you for free as part of what we call our Level 10 360 program. That's where we manage all of these things in an integrated fashion, like I've talked about, for you. So for instance, if you're spending money on TV and radio and SEO and Facebook and pay-per-click, we take over management of all of that for you. So everything's integrated. You got one agency, everything's based on identity. Everything's integrated. There's rapid iteration. We help you understand the investment level for farming versus hunting. And if you do that, we actually create video-based and static-based. Remember, 50% of the content is video-based. We produce it for you. It's included in our service as a value add for our 360 clients. There is a minimum amount of spend, which is $50,000 a month. So that may be a bigger bite than some of you can chew off, but that's okay. If you're doing less than that, you can still go ahead and fill out the form for the ROI Blueprint call. Let me go back to the poll and shut that down. Let's see, how do I stop that? There we go. All right. And I'm going to answer any questions for as long as anybody wants to stay. Right? We're hitting right at an hour right now, but I'm not going anywhere. So if anybody has any kind of things you want to talk about, go into the chat or into the questions and enter those and I will answer. Here's one question that has come in. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. All right. Do you provide media buying services for TV and radio? I just read your book. I'm concerned about CPM. Alex, thanks for that question. The answer is yes, 1,000,000%. We have, in my opinion, hey, take my opinion for what it is. We have the best media buying department that exists in this industry. There's nobody that's better at it than us. And also with our media buying services, we also include all of the scripting for all of your ads. Hopefully, like we just talked about, identity oriented. Question, are we going to get access to the recording of this webinar? Yes, absolutely. We'll be sending that out later today. All right, let's see. Any other questions? That's all the questions I have so far. Oh, here comes one. Good job. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Everything I just said probably sounds a little bit familiar to you, but John, I appreciate you jumping on here as well. Any other questions? Like I said, I'm willing to hang out as long as you're willing to be here, but it looks like that's going to be short. All right. Okay. Well, that's it. Oh, I do the scripting, but need buying help. Okay. Yeah, great. Fill out the ROI blueprint call. When you meet with Ryan Hill, he will help you with that. By the way, I see you say that you do the scripting, and that's awesome. I'm not doubting that you're doing a good job with that, but it also wouldn't hurt to overlay the identity concept on that and see if there's some ways to improve that potentially. Again, don't want to speak negatively about what you're doing when I have no reason to believe it's not great, but probably some room for improvement. Who knows? So that's it. Alex, good to meet you. Everybody else. Oh, here's another one. Currently a level 10 SEO client. What would be the next step for us to be? The answer is go ahead and fill out the form, Jason. By the way, hey, Jason, good to talk to you in this kind of weird format. Yeah, fill that out, and Ryan will do the ROI blueprint call with you, and he'll figure out, you know, how to take you into these other directions that maybe would be helpful for you. So thanks for that, Jason. Appreciate that question. All right. Anyone else? I think that's about it. All right, guys. Thanks so much for your time today. We'll be sending out this email with this recording, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye.